Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Prep Life Podcast. This is your founder and CEO of Pro Bikini, Amy Anger. And today I'm joined by two fabulous people. First of all, my co-host, Leemarie Hostetter. Hey, Lee, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great.
And Lisa Reid, IFBB Bikini Professional. Welcome, Lisa.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
Yes, we are so honored that you've come on to the podcast. I think I reached out to you a long time ago.
Yeah.
I saw you compete at the Amateur Olympia, and you really caught my eye in your stage presence. I've never seen someone pose so well. Um, I was not surprised when I saw when you won your pro card shortly after that at the Caribbean Grand Prix. But we'll get into all of that because I know you have a long history of competing. So first, why don't you share with the audience, you know, it's a different day for you than it is for us because you are coming in from in the morning before your workday, where we're at the end of our workday here in Central Standard Time. So let's just start with a little bit about yourself, what you do, where you're from, and all that.
Of course. So yes, I am Lisa. I am a bikini pro from Australia. So I've been competing here in Australia I literally just hit 10 years a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, I've been in the industry for a long time and absolutely love it. Apart from that, in terms of my life, like away from competing, I suppose as well, I kind of do two things. I launched my own posing business. So I do that as well as I also work with a creative and marketing agency company who actually works specifically just with health and fitness coaches. So yeah, I'm really working in the industry and I love it.
Yeah. And can you tell us a little bit about, are you still, who coaches you? Is it still your partner?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my partner has coached me it's been like almost 8 years now, I think. So yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah. He's been there through all of the journey.
He
So
really,
yeah, yeah. So you've competed in a couple of different divisions, is that right? Or federations?
yeah.
Can you kind of go over your timeline, start from the beginning, kind of where you started out, and then kind of run us through that progression?
Absolutely. So yeah, I started literally back in 2014. Back then I was living in a small town. So at the moment I'm in a bigger town, or bigger city, sorry, in Brisbane in Australia. Back then I was in a small town of Cairns, which you would not have heard of, but that's where I was. I guess actually before that, sorry, I grew up as a dancer. So I have been on stage literally my whole life. The stage is my home. That'd be me. That may
I
be
can
why I
tell.
like stage presence is something like I just literally love it up there. So I definitely started out definitely not in like the fitness kind of sporting background or anything like that. I was just 100% dancing. I was ballet, really into like ballet, like modern tap, all of the things. Did that all growing up, and then once I kind of hit like 18, I still kept dancing. I was doing some like dancing jobs with agencies. I was also a cheerleader for the basketball teams over here, so I did that for 8 years. So I definitely, for me, like I had no real interest in like the gym itself. Wanted to be small, wanted to be a skinny little dancer, whatever. And then it hit when I was about 18, and then I did want to, spend a little bit more time, getting fit, all of that stuff. So I joined a gym, and that was obviously just all of the group fitness classes, which was a big thing, in here. So doing all of those, I did not want to do weight training. I did like one personal training session, and I told the trainer to never make me train like weights and arms again because I did not enjoy it. But anyway, obviously things have changed and I love it. But that's what got me into the gym. And then a gym challenge was like the next thing. So did a gym challenge. And that I absolutely fell in love with that process for me. Like, I had this goal to work towards. I was getting up. I was never a morning person, but then I started getting up early to go to the gym. Like I was, being really good with my food. I was training 2, 3 times, during the day, and I loved it. Then that gym kind of challenge finished, and I was like, oh, like what's next? Like I just wanted to keep going, going, going. And then at the time, my partner at the time, his sister was actually doing a prep. And I started to like watch her and I was like, oh, like, what are you doing? And from then, that's literally how I started. I got in touch with her coach. Like 2 days later, I started my first prep. 12 weeks later, I went on stage. So I didn't know anything about it. I hadn't seen a show, especially not in our small town. It was not a big thing. Like I didn't know anything. All I knew was I wanted another goal to push myself towards. Obviously, I knew like the stage was at the end and I love the stage. And yeah, that's how I went in. So I went in completely blind. I had not done like a proper weight training session until I started the prep. But yeah, that's how I got into that first show.
And how did you do? And what was the federation that you competed
Yeah,
in?
so that federation, it was A and B in Australia. I think they did have it overseas. It used to be linked with like Muscle Mania, I think, and all of that. I'm not sure. I did that. I did the fitness division. Obviously, I didn't have enough muscle, but I was like shredded. Like was way too lean to do bikini, especially in that natural federation. So I did that. I didn't place. I got like second call outs purely because I was, too small, but I loved it. Like, and that's just what kind of like got me hooked on competing. Did a show 2 weeks later. It was a very small one. Like I got first, but there probably wasn't that many people against me. But from then I fell in love with it and I was like, wow, okay, like I want to keep doing this. And then I obviously knew from then I needed to put on some muscle because I was very small. So I then competed the next year. I did the same federation, and I managed to like win my divisions that time at that federation, and I did another one as well. Loved it. I got some seconds. I think I got a fifth as well. I got a few places. I guess up until that point, there was really not that knowledge about, the reverse dieting, like the importance of the off season. For me back then, like it wasn't on social media. Like I still, I had barely even, I think, just got a social media account. So I wasn't really aware of much. But then after that show, that is when I suppose everything started to change. So that's when I actually signed up with my partner. Signed up with him as an online coach. And then from there, I took it, like I said, like everything from then, it was just concentrating on that next goal. Like I took my off season so seriously, every show after that so seriously. So I went into my third prep, which was a year and a half later after that. And I did really well. So I did a few of the natural federations again here in Australia, one of the biggest ones. And I think I won like 5 overall titles that season. So that season was when I was like, okay, wow, I can actually do this. Like, I really put in the work. Like if I really want to do this, I can. So did that.
So did you earn pro status in both of those different?
Not that year. So this was 2017.
Okay.
The next year, 2018, and I got close, like as in I was like one place behind like the pro status. Anyway, so I went back the next year, and that's when I won pro status in 2 different federations. So I won it in the fitness division. So that was ICN, which is over here. It was originally kind of affiliated with INBA over in America, I don't know if you have much to do with that, but did that. And then I also did WNBF, which I went over and did the WNBF World Show in LA in 2018, and I won my pro card over there at the World Titles. So I did that.
Okay.
From there, like I always knew, like at kind of that point, that I really did want to do IFBB. I just wanted to keep putting on the muscle. Like for me, I was like, I'm like, a natural athlete. I need a little bit more time. And I think after like that, I kind of realized I was like, no, I can actually do this if I, really like put my mind to it. So I was like, I really knew that I wanted to do IFBB by then. I did want to do my WNBF pro debut first, and then I was going to go over. Prepped in 2020 for that WNBF pro debut. Obviously, 2020 was the year when everything went wrong. So I didn't get to far to the States to compete then. I prepped for 20 weeks. I just didn't want to miss out on that opportunity just in case, I was able to go overseas. So I prepped for like the last 10 weeks of my prep. I was like, I know I'm not going overseas. Like I know it, but I just wanted to keep going just for that 1% chance that, borders were going to open and we were going to be able to go. But anyway, I ended up cutting that prep. Obviously, I knew I couldn't do it. So then it was like, all right, straight away, I'm going to IFBB now. That was my, So when I say IFBB, in Australia, I know you use an NPC for the amateurs and IFBB like for the pros. In Australia, it's just IFBB Pro League. So it's the amateurs as well as the pros. So that's kind of why I refer to it as that. Yeah, so the NPC
it's not NPC worldwide. You don't
So
have
we're
to
still
get it.
affiliated. Yeah. So it's still NPC worldwide. Like we're still all registered, like all of that. It's just IFBB Pro League Oz is just, yeah, basically just the federation that kind of runs it, but it's with NPC. Yeah. Worldwide.
Okay. How many
Yeah.
opportunities are there in Australia to get your pro card? Because I know you traveled over
Yes.
here to try to, well,
Yeah.
you did
So
go for it.
there's only 2 cards the whole year. That's it.
Okay.
Two?
So it 2 pro cards. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's the entire continent.
So we've got in Australia, there's like 2 seasons. So we have a season A and a season B. So season A show is around April, May generally. And yeah, obviously we've got all our state shows, which are the qualifying shows, and we go to the nationals show. Only the overall winner wins their pro card. Same as season B, the same thing. It's state shows, overall lineup, only the overall winner like wins a pro card. So it's extremely, extremely hard to win a pro card in Australia, and we have so much talent. So much talent. Like we just had the nationals on the weekend, which I went and watched, and it's insane. It's really, really, yeah, it's tough. It's tough in Australia. And I did my first season with IFBB. I got like seconds like throughout that whole season. So like I didn't miss out then. I came back last year, and that's when I did my IFBB season then. So I always knew I wanted to do the Amateur Olympia. That was something that had been my goal for a long time. Obviously I knew there was a chance I could win my pro card in Australia, but we were still going over anyway. I was going to the Olympia, whatever. So I did, yeah, that season I won, all of my divisions in my state shows as well as in the nationals. Yeah, so won the national lineup, got into the overall, just missed out in the overall lineup. So
Dang.
yeah, so it was a bit bittersweet because like I was gutted because I knew that I was like really in the mix, in the middle against a few of the other girls. But anyway, so that I knew I still had Amateur Olympia because that was literally just a week and a half later. Like it was, I think I competed on the Sunday. I flew out to America on the Friday, competed then. Obviously got second in my division there at Amateur Olympia, and my physique, that was definitely not my best physique at the Amateur. When you would have seen me, I was very flat. My body, I think, was very tight. Like I'd spoken to one of the judges because he was one of our Australia judges as well. And he was like, yeah, your body just looked tired. It was just, yeah, I just didn't have that pop at all. Maybe because of the traveling. I've been prepping for a long time as well. One thing as well, like we were backstage for like 2 hours before we went on in the pop-up area. I didn't have food. I didn't even, because what they said we couldn't take anything. So I hadn't eaten for like 2 hours. Yeah, I was very flat that show. Still loved it.
Yeah, they kept you guys back there so long. I remember my client was stuck back there too. And they took a union break for the judges and the workers. And they went all the way, and we thought that they were going to go for a bikini. And then I think they got to wellness or something. And they'd gone through all the bodybuilding, like musical, all their performances and all that. And it was like, oh, now we're going to take a union break. And so it ended up being a lot longer day. But you actually bring me, it brings to my mind a question. I have an Aussie client. She's, dual citizen, but she was asking how you do it with the flights and how your body adjusts, because I know that the Amateur Olympia was on Tuesday and you said you flew in on Friday.
Yeah, so I flew then. I arrived, obviously, because we're ahead of yous. I arrived first thing like the Friday morning, I think it was. Was it Saturday? Saturday morning.
Okay.
Anyway, so yeah, my partner over the flight's over, like he gives me times, like as in when you're like 5 hours into the flight, like eating this when you're like 4 hours into the flight. So that's like its own day essentially, like just that flight. So he prepares that bit for me. And then like when I arrived, because obviously I arrived at 5 a.m., then it was just a new day again. So then I did that, like I had the 3, I think it was the 3 or 4 days, the 3 days in between. And then, yeah, so then pretty much the day reset it from the day that I arrived.
Yeah. So did you get to sleep? I mean, how long was that flight to get there?
So the first one to LA, I think is like 12 or 13 hours potentially. I also definitely like flying at night. So I think my flight was at 10 o'clock at night or something like that. So I'd pretty much done all of my food for the day, and then I slept. So I slept, and then I think it was like maybe it was 5 hours into the flight, I had to have a next meal. So at that stage, I woke up, I ate. I was actually so tired by that stage that I was just sleeping that whole flight, pretty much just waking up just to eat. So that was quite sweet. obviously then I arrived in LA, and I think it was like a 5-hour stopover from there. So that's when like I actually did all my steps there around the airport, doing all that. I think I had one meal there. In terms of food and stuff, because obviously the flight over is fine because I could take a lot of my, chicken and whatever that I needed to. Then from there, because I obviously couldn't take it off the plane, I had like oats, protein powder, just stuff like that I could easily,
Okay.
make it there.
So
Got hot water.
customs, United States Customs doesn't let you bring in meat and things like that.
Yeah, you can't bring any like fresh produce or anything like that. So
Yeah.
it was just easier just for me to that flight just do like the protein powder and stuff.
Okay.
And then I arrived. I think my next flight was it 3 hours or something like that, 5 hours? I can't remember. To Orlando. Arrived
Yeah.
then, and I had actually booked the hotel the night before as well because I knew that I was arriving like super early so that I could just get into the hotel room straight away. So I did that, got in, did my check-in photos, then kind of headed off to the gym and the grocery store, and all of that.
How'd
Obviously
you
didn't.
deal with jet lag? Was that rough?
Yeah, I was all right actually. Pretty good. I think it's because I had slept so much over like on the fly, and I just like I'm all strict on myself. Like anytime, even if it's just on a holiday, like if I arrive that day, like I'm not going to sleep. Stay awake. So I had a pretty big day. Like the gym, the posing, like the cardio. I was going to the shops. I was exploring. So yeah, it was really easy to stay awake, and I fell asleep pretty good that night. I did have a bit of jet lag though the next couple of nights and before the show, which I think was obviously a mix between, the excitement about the shows. Like I could never sleep the night before a show, but there was also that bit of jet lag in there as well. So I think that night before the show, I probably had about 2 hours sleep. Like I was not
Oh,
sleeping,
wow.
but
That's crazy.
yeah.
So, okay, so you got second in your class, and then what, because you kind of anticipated getting your pro card in Australia, and then you were saying, you just were gonna go to the Olympia anyway as a fan, right?
Oh,
But
I had
you're
prepared to do the Olympia, like
oh,
as
okay.
in, so I booked, I hadn't registered, I hadn't booked my tans. I had booked my makeup though anyway, because I didn't want to miss out. So I was just like, if I happen to win my pro card, I'm just going to cop that loss. Like it's fine. But
Gotcha.
then
Okay.
straight away after Australia, I did the rego, like I did the tan, all of that. I did have other shows in mind. Like I knew that Australia's tough. Like I was not under the, impression that I was going to win my pro card in Australia. I was
Yeah.
just kind of, I knew I potentially could, but I also knew, that I may
Yeah.
not, and there was opportunities. So, oh, sorry. I knew already that we were going overseas, for that Amateur Olympia show, for the Olympia, and we were also going overseas for another 3 weeks after that. My partner also had a client competing a few weeks later, so I knew I was there. I'd obviously looked at the calendar, knew what shows I could do because we could only do the NPC worldwide shows over in America. So like I think I think it was in Texas, like there was a national show or some sort of show in Texas,
NPC Nationals.
so I couldn't do that one.
Oh,
I could only do the NPC worldwide ones. That's why it was the Bahamas one, because that was a worldwide show. So I knew all along that I could potentially do those ones. There was also the Ben Weider show as well that were kind of in my like potential pipeline, depending on how I was going.
so what made you choose the Bahamas then ultimately? So after the pivot, you got second at Olympia. So what was the thought process there for your next steps?
Yeah. So it took me about a day to kind of sleep on it. Like I kind of knew I wanted to. I just had to like, I don't know, just think about it. Like I knew I had all of it in me to still do it, but I was like, I'm a smaller competitor. Like I definitely know that. And I was like, do I have the size? All of those kind of thoughts have kind of gone through my head. But
Mhm.
I did know I wanted to do that one. It was obviously close to us as well in Florida. It
Mhm.
was because we were going to Miami anyway. So it's like a 1 hour flight or 45 minutes or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So pretty much, did that one. I wanted to do that one first. I think in my head, I wanted to put myself up against athletes who like weren't necessarily like natural. Like I like that was also around that thought process. So that is again why, I went and did that one. I was ready to keep going.
Love
Like
it.
I didn't want another 2 weeks either. It was just kind of like, no, I want to go now. And then I was going to see
Okay.
if the Bahamas show didn't turn out that way. Maybe I would have done the show the week after as well.
So tell me everything about that show. I don't know a lot about it. Was that the first year for it?
No, I think, well, they've done the like Caribbean Grand Prix, but they were, I think it
Uh-huh.
was at a different location. I think they did Bermuda or something like that the year
Okay.
before. So again, I didn't really know that much either. I didn't really know. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's going to be how
Yeah.
many
I think
people.
it was fairly
Yeah,
new. Man, you got the craziest tiara though.
I
How
know.
was that?
It was
Tell us all about
massive.
that show. What was that experience
Yeah.
like?
Yeah, it was cool. It was honestly like very chill and relaxed, that one. Like it was a lot different, I think, to all of the rest of the ones. I also hadn't really told many, like only just like my close friends that I was actually doing it. So people didn't really know. I wasn't really getting a lot of like messages and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So I think that was just kind of nice just to have it. It was just me and my partner. We were just, in Miami for that like kind of prep week.
Uh-huh.
Very chill. Obviously, he'd started reversing me by that stage because I was too lean. So it was just, yeah, cardio tapered down. It was honestly just such a chill like lead up to it. And then we arrived at Bahamas that morning before. That has been a place where I've wanted to go for so many years, like since I was a little girl. So that was just cool, like seeing the hotels or in the movies and stuff like that. So it was
Yeah.
just a really chill like day before show. Went to the Rego and did the tans and all that stuff. And then yeah, there was actually another girl from Australia there as well. So yeah, there's two of us that went over, and then yeah, it was chill that night. I think I actually got a bit like I got a decent amount of sleep that night as well. Again, I woke up, it was just yeah, very relaxed, very just yeah,
Just
I don't know.
happened.
Yeah, yeah. Went and did the show. It obviously wasn't as big as some of the other shows that I'd done either, but it was still my like overall lineup itself like was still strong. There's one other girl who I think she recently got a pro card at one of the national shows a couple of months ago. She was in it. There's another one who I've been watching, and she's yeah, looking like she might do really well as well. So yeah, did that show, did the lineup, and then yeah, they did the placings, and yeah, my number was called, which is
That's awesome.
yeah, it was funny. Like, I think, obviously during moments of when I'd be doing my cardio and all that stuff throughout that whole season, like I'd kind of envision that moment, like just trying to picture it, like, in my head. And I used to get like so emotional, and then I'd have all these things in my head that I think I'd say, like when they interview me and all that stuff. I was honestly a bit blank. Like, yeah, I don't know. I think it was a bit shocked. And it was cool though, because my partner was sitting like right up the front. So I actually locked eyes with him straight away, and like I could see him. So I think I was just like looking at him. And yeah, you can kind of see it. And then yeah, I don't really know what I said when I got interviewed. I was, I was a little bit in shock.
So with that dynamic, and I don't want to hog the conversation, so Leemarie, feel free to like jump in whenever if you have a question that pops up. But just wondering, what's your partner's business called? And then how is that with you guys working together, having a relationship, and then also kind of like a
Yeah.
business relationship and a romantic relationship?
Yeah, yeah. So his business name is HFS Strength and Nutrition. He started that up about, it's been like 12 years ago now. It's been a long time. He obviously started, yeah, PTing face-to-face clients, obviously, snowballed from there. He preps a lot of different like federations, divisions, like he preps like, the males, like the bodybuilders, like he literally preps everything. He's a judge
Okay.
as well, flies overseas to judge for a few different federations as well. Obviously, he can't judge as much in Australia because he's a lot of clients.
Yeah.
So he does a lot of that. So he's very involved in the industry as well. And yeah, in terms of our like coaching dynamic, it's actually something that works really well for us. Like we've both said it's something that enhances our relationship. Like it doesn't really, it's not something that, ever affects it. Yeah, like for us, it really, really works for us. And we are both so, so grateful for it. Like we can, and it's something that we've been able to do together. Like I've won, my 3 pro cards. It's been with him like every step of the way. It's just been us. And I absolutely love it. And in terms of, like separating the two things, we are like really good at that, at separating it. So we'll still do, I'll still on Monday morning, like have my kind of like check in with him. He'll, take my skin folds, he'll look at all of that data, but whatever. And then in terms of like conversations and stuff like that, like in a prep, like it's just, we just have to just be say like, I'm talking to you, like I need you to be my, partner right now, or, I'm talking to you as a coach right now, or whatever it is. But I think I've been doing it for so long as well. For me, it's not like he has to really, like get up me or, like, what I mean? Like sometimes if he needs to kind
Yes.
of, not following the plan or whatever, maybe then I'd resent him a little bit more if he was constantly like,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, like it works really well for us. And, you know, we've obviously got a lot of friends in the industry who are all coaches and stuff as well. Some people, you know, are like us. Some people are like, there is no way my partner's coaching me. But yeah, I guess for
Very
us,
cool.
yeah.
Did you have some questions?
Yeah, so Amy was raving about your posing, and I know you have a background as a dancer, but once
Yeah.
you started working, like competing, did you just YouTube posing? How did you learn how to pose? Did you have coaches? And then how did you learn the differences between starting in the NPC, and how did you get to be so good?
Thank you. I do love it. So when I first started, again, with me being just completely, you know, going in blind, knowing nothing, there was no posing coaches back then at all either. So my very first show, I think I did about 2 sessions just with my actual coach back then. My male coach, he was just kind of like showing me like what the poses were. That was pretty much it. Like there was no, it's nothing like it is now where, you know, posing, especially in Australia, people take posing seriously. Like it's obviously I've got a business now. So yeah. So my first, show, my posing was like quite bad. I obviously had the stage presence. For me, that's the one thing that, you know, carries me through, like no matter what. Because when I get on stage, it's just like this whole other person just comes out of me. I love it. But I wasn't a good poser. Like I look back now and I was like, oh, not very good. Same as the second season. It was pretty much no one really teaching me, just like my coach kind of telling me what the poses were. I even remember that first season, I was trying to YouTube stuff. And even then I was just a bit, wasn't really sure, but did my best. And even all the way through like those kind of natural federations before I actually moved on to NPC, I didn't have a posing coach. My coach, and then obviously then my partner, he was kind of showing me as well. He was quite good at it, you know, like kind of teaching it a little, obviously nothing to the extreme of posing coaches now, but he was kind of showing me. I was considered a good poser back then, but I look at it and I'm like, lots of things that just, not great. Then obviously going into NPC, I knew that I needed to, like really take it seriously. I'd obviously moved cities as well. So I saw one of the IFBB pros here in Australia. She was my first posing coach for NPC, and I did face-to-face lessons with her. So that's pretty much then. Ever since then, like I've had posing coaches throughout the whole thing. My latest posing coach she's an online coach, Shanae, and I absolutely adore her. And even though I may be considered like a good poser, it was still, I was posing in my off season all the way through my prep. Like it was the weekly lessons, then obviously your own practice, you know, like every day. During that. So it's just been,
Yeah. Do you notice now, have you competed as a pro, and that like routine, is it a lot different than competing in the NPC? I know you have more time on stage too for your routine. Like how has that changed or been a challenge?
So I haven't competed as a pro yet. I'm in my growth phase, so I still need to grow a lot. I am dying to get over to the States. Like that's my plan, to go over for a month, do like a string of 4 shows. We don't have any pro shows in Australia here either. So yeah, again, it'll be a traveling thing as well. So yes, it is though, definitely the longer routine, which I love. Like I'm obviously playing around with my routine as well. I will start up with my coach again soon, just to obviously, you know, that. But the fact that I get to walk to the back in my routine, I love. And just the fact that I get more time, like I want to be up there for as long as possible. So I definitely love it, just having that freedom to be able to do a few extra things in there. That's really fun.
I have something to ask you about your posing, because I was just showing my coach this, and I don't know if you can even see the reflection, but
My calf.
So how do you pop your toe like that? It looks so elegant on stage. I cannot get that range of motion. We were trying to work on this, and I was showing her your pictures, and is there a trick to get that kind of range of motion?
It's just
Is it from the ballet?
Yeah, it's my feet. It's definitely something I get commented on all the time. It's just like my feet and my calves are just like, they just really pop over. In like ballet, back when I used to dance, like my feet were like, people would kind of envy them a little bit because I could point them so much. So it's not really something I think that I could really give any tips on how to do it, because it's just my feet.
Like the joints, or just like over time, just the flexibility and range of motion. So there's nothing like we can do like to work on to achieve the Lisa.
I mean, you can practice just like you're pointing, like sit on the floor and like literally just like point your feet. But yeah, a lot of it
Yeah,
is
it's
just
amazing. Yeah. So if you're
Like,
just listening, watch it on YouTube so you can see what I'm talking about. But
yeah. Do you practice do you have a mobility routine that you work on all the time and flexibility and stuff to help you with that, or is it just from dancing?
it's literally dancing. I don't do anything. Like for me, I don't even notice I'm doing it. Like people will just
wow.
say, "Oh my God, like look at you," and I'm like, "Oh, like, I don't even really know I do it." It's literally
Wow.
just habit. And just
Goals. Okay, so I had another question from my Aussie client as well. She wondered if you ever can fit in Vegemite toast into your macros, or if you eat
oh,
Vegemite.
don't really eat Vegemite. I could because it's got better macros than like what peanut butter would, and I fit peanut butter in there. But yeah, I'm probably not a very good Aussie. I don't really
You're
like
not a
Vegemite.
fan of the
Okay,
Vegemite.
I have a question to piggyback off of that I've been thinking about. So, competing in Australia and then coming over to the US, is there ever anything that you have to try to like bring over because it's like a staple in your prep, or it's something you can't wait to eat after your show, but you can only get it there, you can't get it in the US? Or is there anything you found in the US that you can't get in Australia?
Yes, definitely the second one. So that's one thing too. Like people ask me how, I go like traveling with all the different foods and stuff. And I say, honestly, America is the easiest place. It's, you've obviously got all the same. I can just go to the grocery store. I can get my chicken. I can get my rice cakes. Like, people compete in Japan. They can't get rice cakes, all that stuff. Your rice cakes are incredible. Honestly. Oh my God. Like, so that is a dream doing like peak weeks and stuff like that when I've got to carb up on all of these carbs. Those rice cakes, like the flavored ones as well, like just like, the caramel ones, the chocolate ones, just as well as your plain rice cakes. I can't explain how good they are. Like the thick ones, they're like cakey. Like they are so good. Here, they're like, they just fall apart. Like I've been talking to someone the other day because I know one of the girls in Australia is going to the amateur O, and I was like, make sure you get the rice cakes. Yeah, so good. And then your dry cereal as well. It's just, yeah, I love that for a carb up as well. So all of that cereal.
That's so interesting to hear.
Yeah.
So were there any restrictions for going from Florida to Bahamas for your food?
No.
Or did you find that you got through customs just fine?
What I did with food, so I pre-ordered, there was a meal prep company in the Bahamas. So for that, I just ordered that because I knew our hotel didn't have a kitchen either. So I just ordered a bunch of it was like chicken and rice, and there was some veg, I think some other stuff for my partner actually. And then I obviously took over. There was no problems with the rest of the, all the dry carbs, the rice and the like the rice cake, cereal, honey, peanut butter, whatever else. Yeah, I kind of took over.
Yeah. So what kind of advice do you have for those that are natural athletes that are trying to achieve IFBB pro status in a non-drug tested? Because you didn't even make it to the Ben Weeder. You didn't have to.
Yeah. Honestly, time. That's like really all it is. It's like time and just like dedication. Like I've had big kind of off seasons in between because I know that I've kind of needed it, and it's just been staying like true to like the goal. So I've been just so focused on that goal for so long. Even before I started with NPC, like I only did my first show in 2022. Obviously that was pushed a bit back due to all the COVID stuff. Like we had show cancellations here for a while. But I, even from like 2018, like I knew that's what I wanted to do. And it was just really just trusting, in myself that I would put in the work, and I would get there. That's honestly, that's like what I can really say, just putting 100% into it, being dedicated every day. Like I was pretty, all throughout all of my off seasons. Every day I just kept focusing on that goal, really putting everything into it. And eventually.
What was the longest improvement season? So how long did you take to build?
It was in between. I mean, obviously it wasn't intentional because it was around the 2020, that whole situation, but I competed in like November of 2018, and then I didn't get back on stage for my first NPC show until April 2022. So it was almost 4 years. Okay. Again, there was like a prep in there that I, had to pull out of. So it wasn't that full time of growing. But yeah, basically like in a normal time period, it would be about like 2 years, like, 1.5 years in between. And I guess in Australia too, we don't have shows all throughout the year. So it's really like you're either doing the April, May shows or like the, September, October shows. That's pretty much it as well. So that's another thing to consider as well.
Yeah. Lee, did you have any other questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask about like an improvement season as a natural athlete and how much weight do you expect to put on to intentionally put on muscle in a natural way, and how high do you try to get your calories? How do you deal mentally with not being shredded all the time and all of those things?
Yeah. Yeah. So generally, my weight, so at the moment, I'm about 10 kilos over. That's pretty much like the max that I'll get to. In saying that, from my reverse, like I am pretty meticulous with my reverse as well. So I guess that does help in the feelings, because I'm just very gradually kind of like, putting that extra bit of weight on. I do get very, very lean as well. So people look at me and they say, you're not 10 kilos over stage weight. And I'm like, I actually am. Like, it's just, I'm someone who needs to get shredded to look good on stage. So yeah, so that's pretty much that. In terms of like my body image and stuff like that, it's something that I definitely did probably struggle a little bit more like early. Like I do like myself a little bit leaner. I like myself about 5 kilos over stage weight. But it's, again, just like I said before, it's just knowing that it's for a purpose, and that it's just going to help me get to where I want to be, like get to ultimately, like at the end. So not to say that I don't have days where I'm like, oh, you can't really see my like whatever it is. I also do like to, it does help though, like actually seeing the progress, like me actually, looking at my glutes, and I'm like, oh yeah, they actually do look like they have grown. So it's like looking at those positives as well, and just kind of like, trusting yourself that, like it's for a purpose. In terms of calories, like I suppose I'm not someone who can get my calories like super, super high. I'm a pretty petite person as well. But mine, they get to around like 2,600 for me. I know some girls obviously can get way higher. But yeah, that's kind of where mine kind of end up. It's around like a 350 carb kind of, place.
So
So
for
with
us United States people, just translation, 22 pounds is just for our American listeners. Just
That's
you guys
another
know.
thing I was gonna ask, because I actually work at a gym called F45 that's based out of Australia. And so our weights are really odd numbers. Does it ever like
Yeah.
mess you up coming to America and all the weights are in pounds? Or do we have like weird machines that you don't have, or we don't have stuff that you have in the gym? How does that compare?
Yeah. So I guess in terms of the weights, like for me, just in my head, I'll just divide it by 2 as a bit of like a, like a rough estimate, and I kind of need to know what I need to get. Obviously, though, some of the machines are different anyway, so I'm going to put a different weight on. I loved going over and trying like the different machines. Like I train at like a pretty bodybuilding gym here in Australia, and we've got like a great variety of machines as well. But I love it going overseas, like especially, in Orlando, training at, I've just lost the name of it,
Dragon's
no.
Den.
Yeah. Yeah.
That one's
Anyway,
in
so
Vegas, I think.
oh no, not that one. What was the
Powerhouse Gym or something in
no,
Crunch.
yes, I can't remember which one it was. It was where a lot of people, like, that was one thing. Like I arrived off the plane, went straight into, the gym. I went to the posing room and Maureen was coming out. I went into, so that was really cool. Like they were all there. Like Daraja was like training like next to me. Why can I not remember the gym?
I think
Anyways,
it's Powerhouse.
I don't think it was a
Possibly.
powerhouse.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways, so then like being able to play with some of the cool equipment as well. So obviously like my few sessions, before the show, were a little bit more like pump up, like I couldn't really play around too much. But then the days like after that, we went over, then I started to play around with all the leg machines, and my fiance was just like, you can, like kind of have a bit of fun, like choose which ones you want to play around with. So that was cool getting to play around with some of the cool, like the pendulum squat machine. That was so good. That one was cool. I'm trying to think. There are a lot. It's just fun. It's just like going into another playground. Yeah, it's cool. I like it.
So was there anything that we didn't chat about that you would like to share with listeners, like any advice for for people that are doing kind of what you're doing, Australia, there's not very many opportunities. So what advice would you give to maybe an Australian aspiring to be IFBB or somebody here in America?
Sure. I think in like in general, just like for anyone, one of the like the big things is probably just to like not really try to, rush the process in getting a pro card. Like I feel like at the moment, especially with social media, there's a lot of stuff around, like getting the pro cards. But for me, like I've been in, the industry for like 10 years. Like it's taken me 10 years to get, that IPB pro card. Even before then, like my pro cards before that were, 4 or 5. And I'm really grateful that it did take me, that time. Like I came so close a few times, but I was able to learn more things, about myself. I was able to grow as an athlete. I was able to really enjoy those experiences, especially in Australia, because if you become a pro card, like then it kind of like limits in some of the federations. It really does like limit your opportunities. So don't try and rush it. Still like really enjoy it, like learn, like have fun, like traveling, like meeting like the competitors. And then in terms of like if you're an Australian wanting to, like get your pro card, like honestly, I absolutely loved going overseas. I always knew like I wanted to compete overseas. I competed back in 2018 in, like at the WMBF World Show, and I loved it. And it's such a cool experience to get to go over, to get to meet, different girls, like everyone from different nationalities, obviously, because I did the Olympia, like I got to meet all the pro athletes, and all of that. So, if you do have the funds, if you can get the time off work, like absolutely do it. Like you get to travel, you get to compete, you get to meet so many amazing people. Yeah, honestly, it's incredible. And that's what excites me the most as well about being a pro, is that it's just opening up my opportunities to compete so much more. I now just get to go anywhere, like at any time. And it is so, so, so exciting. So yeah.
That's awesome. So can you share with our listeners what your posing business is? So that, if somebody wanted to hire you to help them with posing.
Absolutely. So it is Pose with Lisa. You can find it on Instagram as well. It's at Pose with Lisa _. Otherwise, you can message me on my personal page as well, which is at Lisa Jane Reid.
Awesome. And is that any other handles or any ways that they can get a hold of you? We can put those all in the show notes, but
Yeah, that's all. I've got like an inquiry form linked on my Instagram page in the link tree as well. So yeah.
perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it. And if you appreciated the content that Lisa shared with you today, please be sure to tag her and us at Glam Girl Bikini or at Prep Life Podcast and let her know how much you appreciated this episode and your times. Thank you so much for coming on. And thanks for listening, guys.